Hello again, folks. This is Dr. Mike, and we're back, and we're continuing on with our medical exercise training one-on-one ebook video series. This is tip number 9, or concept number 9. And this one is going to look at the idea of what type of information you need from the client's medical records to better provide an exercise program for them. So number 9, do I need to have access to the client's x-rays, blood tests, or op reports to offer MET services? Now, this is an interesting one, folks. The answer is yes and no. I'm going to be ambiguous on this one. It's kind of yes and no. The client's physician or therapist may provide interpretations of x-rays, blood tests, and operative reports, but many times they're busy and you can't get in contact with them. In some instances, you may need a written copy of a report to maintain in the client's chart for further future comparison. To obtain these records, your client must complete and sign a release of medical information form. The physician, physical therapist, or chiropractor is simply the custodian of the patient's records, your client's records. They do not own them. Legally, they cannot release any information without the client's or patient's written consent. When you need information from your client's medical records, make sure you have the client sign the release form and give specific notation of the information they need. Some clients aren't comfortable giving all or full access to all their medical records. So on the release form, clearly note the specific information you're requesting on that particular client before you forward that over to the doctor's office. Make sure the client signs it and dates it, and most release of information forms are good for 1 year. So literally what this release form does, it says, Dr. Smith, you can provide John Doe, my medical exercise specialist, with medical records. And if you note on that form what the specific medical records are, the operative report of my total hip replacement on September 8th, 2018, and or my blood pressure values from May 18th, 2021 through May 18th, 2022. Something like that, clients are really may feel more comfortable with. Not very many people want you to get all their medical records, okay? And remember, when you get these medical records, you have to make sure you protect them, you put them in a secure location. They're always under lock and key unless you're actually interacting or reviewing the medical record. When those records aren't being used by you, they should be under lock and key someplace and not left lying around. And please let me finish this. Once you receive the records, you must carefully store and maintain them. We will discuss this later, but remember to protect the client's privacy by not leaving their records lying around for anyone to browse and see, which is what I just said. Now, there will be times where you'll need to get clients' medical records, but please make sure, if you're going to get these records and you're looking at blood work and x-rays, make sure you understand what you're looking at, because some of this stuff is very complicated. Many of our MES have said they got these reports, and when we sit down and talk about them, they can't interpret them at all. They have no idea. So what was the sense in getting the report? So make sure that if you're getting this information, it is appropriate for you to have, that the client has signed off on it, and the client may want to put specifics in that release of information before it goes over to the physician's office. And remember, the client has to sign it and date it, and it's good for 1 year. You fax that over, and now the doctor, therapist, or chiropractor can even talk to you on the phone, because many of them won't talk to you. And this is based on HIPAA guidelines, and these guidelines are to protect the client's privacy. Folks, you never know who's trying to get information on your client, and you never know who may use your name to get information, but make sure the client has signed that release of information. You've now sent it to the doctor's office. They keep it on file, and that way they know who they can provide the information to. Protecting clients' privacy is vitally important. And as fitness professionals now starting to interact with the medical community, understanding how these security provisions are to be followed becomes vitally important. Make sure you do understand how HIPAA works and the importance of that, and make sure that in your office and your facility and in your practice, you're following these guidelines to protect your client's privacy. I'll end this by saying the following. We're all up in arms about identity theft. How would you like it if your mom or dad, your aunt or uncle were working with a personal trainer and you walked into their facility? I shouldn't say personal trainer, medical exercise specialist, and you walked in to pick up your aunt or uncle after their appointment, and you walk in and you sit down and you're waiting for them, and there's your aunt or uncle's medical records splayed out over the table with all their contact information in it. You wouldn't like that. So please, if you would, make sure you adhere to this guideline. And yes, you can get these medical records, but make sure once you get them that you do protect them, keep them under lock and key when you're not using them so that they're protected and the client's privacy is protected. Thanks again. We'll be back with our next tip, which will be tip number 10.